What you doing here? I bet you're back for another episode of Creative Kompany, where we visit artists in their studios or creative spaces to talk everything about mental health, self-awareness, and everything that encompasses their artistry. So if you're ready, we're going to go visit an artist. So come with me up these stairs. All right, y'all. So we're here at our artist studio door. We're going to go ahead and give it a knock and see if she's inside. Hey, what's going on? How are you?
Good. How are you?
Here to come see you, girl.
Come on in, girl.
All right.
All right. So this is like my primary work wall. Most of the paintings I'm gonna do will be on this wall. So you'll see this is one of my older paintings of my daughter.
Yes.
I love this painting. I did it in like 2022, but I love it, and I have a thing where my paintings are kind of never done. So I'm actually gonna go back in and work on it. That's why it's hanging up again. I unstructured and everything. And then behind you is another painting that I started.
I love this.
I'm so excited.
It's giving like black girl nostalgia. Like you sitting here getting your hair did, hair braided, or just sitting in grandma's like living room or your auntie's living room or your mama's living room. Yeah. And I'm looking at this couch and I'm like, okay, it reminds me a little bit of leather. Let me correct me if I'm wrong.
You said leather?
Leather.
Yes.
Kinda,
okay.
sorta.
I have so many things to tell you, but I won't spoil it here. But so essentially, I have this picture of me and Z from it was like her first wash day basically. And like Tone just snapped some pictures of us on the sofa. And then I was looking through old photos of like my childhood. There's a photo of me and my mom. It's almost an exact replica of this, down to like how my mom's hands are positioned, down to the age I was. So I really want to make it like a diptych, so like a two-part painting where it's like they're mirroring each other, but it's like my mom and me, and then me and Z. So yeah, so this is where it's starting. It's gonna take on a life of its own. So yeah, this is where this is where the ideas come alive, and then this table is just my supplies and stuff where.
The paint,
like my palettes, and these are actually like inks, watercolor. Because I've been playing with those. But this is my oil paint, my brushes and stuff. But yeah, this stretch is where I'll be I create the majority of my work.
Space.
Yeah, that's the workspace. Like I need this wall inside of the studio. All of it. Right.
Gorgeous.
So yeah. Okay. I mean, this is just more. This is just more of the work wall. This is another. I got a lot of pictures of my kid, huh? Beautiful. This is Z too. And then she comes to the studio with me sometimes too. So this is her space. So yeah, she's got her own little easel and paper and canvases and
Does
stuff.
she have any work finished?
No, not yet.
I'm excited to see some of that.
Oh yeah, she's got a lot at the house.
Oh really?
She's a beast with it actually. So yeah, so this is like my workspace. Ideas go up on the dry erase and get taken down and all that good stuff. So,
I love that. Okay.
And then last but not least, I don't know, should I take you this way or this way? But last but not least, my kind of like chill space. You know how they say like artists need time to like sit around and do nothing? This is my sit around and do nothing area.
Love it.
And so like I might come here, look through some magazines, read a book, might eat my lunch here if I just need a cushiony place to sit. I might just take a nap.
And you should, because you need to go from the workspace, to the grounding space, okay?
Yeah, but
and the green couch sets it off.
The black girl, yes. Green couch I don't know what it is about the green couch, but I got mine though.
Right.
So yeah, I got my lovely green couch. I got my girls behind me. Got my plants. So yeah, this is my chill space where, I might do some like work from here, but it's like low-key chill work, might sketch right here or something. So yeah, this is my studio.
I love it. And who's that over there, that plant?
Oh, that's Otis. he broke the studio in, my first companion.
We love Otis.
Yes, but ain't nobody come to see you, Otis.
Ain't nobody come to see you. I might, but ain't nobody come to see you.
Yeah, but that's my guy, and he's still holding on strong. He's still
I love that. He looks good.
Thank you. you.
So thank you for taking us around to your workspace and then your other workspace / your personal space.
Yeah.
And then your grounding space.
Literally, yeah.
It's
I'm
so
excited.
beautiful, and I love the depiction, like all your artworks everywhere. You know, also I love seeing like the little Black children, little Black girls and boys, and then like I see the women too. But it just gives me such a nostalgia type of feeling, or just like a reflection, if anything. Like you better than having like mirrors around everywhere, because now I see myself. I see myself in that girl with the pink and the red right here going like this with the pose.
Yeah.
But yes, I want to have a conversation with you. Just ask you a couple of questions.
Deal.
So let's get to it. Let's sit on this green couch.
All right now.
Okay. So thank you, Yewande, for showing us around your studio. It's
Of course.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Love it.
Thank you. Me too.
So I wanted to ask you a couple of questions, you know, just regarding your artistry, but then also your mental wellness and how you navigate that as an artist. Because as you know, everyone loves an artist. Everyone loves a singer, whatever the case may be, and what they produce. But we also have to understand the humanity of us and how we want to be seen as an individual, rather than just, you know, I'm just this machine that produces, you know, this sort of art or that sort of art, whatever.
Right.
So my first question for you: a majority of your work displays frequent frames of joy, right? That includes like Black boys and Black girls. I wanted to ask, how has providing this representation impact you, and not only your growth in like motherhood, because you are a mother, but then also your growth in like in womanhood.
Yeah, so it's interesting. When I first started painting, I painted a lot of women. A lot of my earlier artwork was kind of an expression of, or maybe even an exploration of the woman I was becoming. And so I think once I found out I was pregnant, I very distinctly remember that moment. I was working in healthcare. I was doing art kind of like secretly on the side. I like to say like I was a closeted artist. Artist. Yeah, but literally the moment I found out I was pregnant, before I could even turn around and tell my husband like, oh, I'm pregnant, like I heard a voice and it was like, it's time to go. Because I had been debating whether or not I was going to stay in healthcare in the way that I was. I always felt like I had to choose between healthcare or my art. And when I heard that voice say it's time to go, I knew exactly what it meant. And it meant like, okay, it's time to go. And the reason I know that it was time to go was because I felt that I wasn't living authentically. And I was like, I can't. And it's crazy because I had just found out that I was having a child, but I was like, I can't bring a little girl into this world and not be the fullest expression of who I am. I was like, I can't bring life into this world and I'm living what felt like a lie. And so I think from there, I started to think about, like, as you bring life into the world, you start thinking about, like, okay, how was my childhood? How would I want another's childhood to be, you know, that I'm kind of responsible for?
Absolutely.
And so I started just kind of, just reflecting on my own childhood. And so, gratefully, my child was very loving and fun and sweet and colorful, and so that definitely gets reflected in my artwork. And I have nothing but kind of like ooey gooey feels about my childhood.
I love that.
But I think when we talk about being the fullest expression of yourself, I started with the joy.
Okay.
And
that's important. That's important. I think I seen your artist talk a while back ago, and you said like joy is the baseline.
It is the baseline.
I highly agree, because like what else? What is the foundation of anything else? Like you need joy, and I think joy versus like happiness. Cause I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm happy," right? But I feel like joy is deeply embedded into like yourself, or like it's more. It's a deeper meaning than just happiness. I feel like happiness is still cute, you know, but joy, it's cute, but joy, having joy, that speaks a greater volume, you know, and
Yeah.
you encompass everything. Like, you know, in your life, you're grateful, you know, you show gratitude, even in the smallest of things.
Right.
And I think that's such a beautiful statement.
Yeah.
I think it's such a beautiful thing.
Thank
we need
you.
to have joy.
Thank you.
So you talked about, you know, your childhood.
Yeah.
And you talked about how you have like these gooey feelings about it. You know, how would you say like your village or like, you know, your family impacted you in your childhood to be the woman that you are today?
Yeah. So I think a lot of those feels came from my upbringing. But it's a two-sided coin. So on one side, you know, my parents, especially my dad, especially, leave it up to him. I'm gonna think I'm a superhero. I swore I was superhuman. I could do anything. And you will see that even translated in my art with like dream and shine your light and things like that. But also growing up as a first generation in Macon, Georgia, which is the South of the South.
Because you're not from Baltimore, baby. You're from Georgia.
I am from the South, even though I don't have a Southern accent like that. But so it's like, you know, the home upbringing was beautiful, but growing up in the South, you're raised and Bible Belt, like you're raised and trained to move and operate a certain way. And so I think that a part of me that I'm still honestly growing out of is like I don't want to be seen. I want to don't want to be judged
or nothing too outwardly be loud or whatever the case may be.
Right. And so there's a part of me that's like, at home I feel safe and free for the most part, but there is that kind of like people pleasy, are they gonna like me, that still lies not even dormant, but it's like the shadow side, if you will, of my upbringing. And I reflect on it so much because I'll do stuff, I'll enter spaces and I'm like, girl, why are you doing this? This is not who you are anymore.
No, it's not.
You know, even if that was a version of you, like,
you can still honor it, but you passed it and reposition who she was to who you are now.
Yeah. And so kind of even going back to your previous question with like the joy, it's like, yes, the joy is there, and I'm allowed to experience the full range of human emotions, which I hadn't really allowed myself to do. Especially kind of being in a space, growing up in an area where like, you better be happy, you better, you know, shut up or put up. Like, you know,
you better
like,
be fine with what you get, because that's all you got.
Exactly.
And if you want more, then you gotta get it. But for right now, you better be fine with what you got.
Yeah. So
yeah, no, and I appreciate you navigating that, or be able to navigate that in conversation, because a lot of people have trouble with like expressing that or understanding the duality of like, okay, this is who I was, this is who I am, and not so much like erasing who I was, because you can always learn from her.
Right.
You know,
indeed. Yeah.
You always learn from her, and I think it's such a beautiful manifestation to who you are now and then who you want to become, you know, after this version evolves into the next, you know, Yewande. And I love that. I love it. Duality is so important. I never believe in like totally erasing, you know, a self or a version of self.
Yeah.
So I feel like you learn a lot from those past versions, and it does make up of who you are now to who you want to become. So that's beautiful. So a favorite piece of mine that I pointed out, like I think that's when I first like seen you like paint live.
Yeah.
Because I know you're a muralist as well, and I seen your work, but I never like seen it in person until I was at the mural walk at Pratt Library.
Yes.
And it was a Dare to Dream, right? And I was looking, I was like, wow, this reminds me. It was I cannot remember her name. I forgot it for the life of me. But it was this girl at my because I went to elementary school in PG County, and it was this girl that looked similar to the girl depicted in the mural. And I was like, I know who this is. Can't remember. I think it was Crystal something. Can't remember. Crystal, if you're watching, girl, I'm sorry I forgot your name. But
hey, girl.
You know, for real. But it reminded me of her a little bit, and I was like, wow, this is a little black girl. And just seeing that reflection, or like getting that type of memory, like, oh, looks like somebody that I knew. It just warms my heart, because not a lot of times we see representation, or as you know, growing up, we don't see a lot of representation. I wanted to ask, being a point of like, you know, somebody that's able to like show like or mirror like Black girl childhood and stuff like that, what is one thing that you feel is something that you've carried from like your childhood into your womanhood, if that makes sense, or that you take from your childhood that you like are still able to like reflect on or like hold dear in your womanhood?
Yeah. I think that when I think about childhood me, I was so just vivacious and bubbly. And I think that when I talk about adult me becoming the fullest expression of, you know, who I am, I still reference like 8 to 11-year-old me. So I think about that girl a lot and how she took up space and honestly did not care. And I just reflect on how she showed up in the world. And I think that often translates to my paintings. There's also a book I read, All the Black Girls Are Activists. Yeah, the author's name, I always forget her last name, but her first name is Ebony Janice, one name.
Okay.
It is so good. But she talks about how Black girls have, you know, the time and the space to be colorful and loud and all the things that we are that the world tells us that we shouldn't be.
Right.
And I think that I just take that expansiveness, that unbridled expansiveness, before somebody tells you you're too loud or you should sit down or your shorts are too short or cover your butt or whatever. I try to channel that often through my work. And so yeah, that's kind of where I sit with it. Yeah,
I love that. It's so, I don't want to use the word hard. It's so tedious to have to like reform yourself in a way when you are like this lively Black young girl, and then you have to reform yourself in a way where it's like you can't be those things, you know, between like adolescence into like emerging adulthood, and all of a sudden you have to refine yourself.
Yeah.
And I always see that in your work. I'm like, look, that's why I say you might as well hang mirrors up, child, because I see me and one of these, two of these girls, majority of all of them, but like two of them particularly. And I appreciate you doing that, because it's a responsibility, you know, of some sort. And I thank you for being that narrator.
Thank you.
So your name on Instagram, because I always pay attention to people's name on Instagram. I'm kind of interested in like people's handles.
I'm so excited
the
to
Resolute
talk about this.
Rose,
Yeah.
right? When I looked up the word resolute, I was like, oh, okay, because even today when you text me traffic is abysmal, I said, let me look that up real quick. There was a definition, like it was terrible, it was bad. I was like, the vernacular. But the Resolute Rose, resolute, the word resolute, what does that mean to you, and why you hold that so dear? Like, why do you feel like that was something to, you know, put on yourself?
Yeah. You ready for a story? Okay.
Girl, go ahead. Look, I'm here.
No, so I talk about my childhood a lot, of course, and how vivacious I was, but what I haven't talked about necessarily is around 6th, 7th grade, when I went from being this bubbly, you know, vivacious girl to feeling absolutely silenced. I was in a new school, it was a new setting, and people, you know, middle school kids are mean.
They're mean. They're so mean. I was bullied in middle school. It's so mean.
As was I. And instead of like, I'm not about to go back and forth with y'all, so I chose to like, I'm not gonna talk to y'all, I'm not gonna entertain y'all, I'm just gonna focus on my academics, hence the vocabulary. And
I was surprised. I was like, listen, I'm a vocabulary freak, you know, I'll use some type of words, but I was like, this is me.
And I've played the viola since I was 8, and so I was focused on my music. I was like, I wasn't even painting, I wasn't doing like visual art in that way. And so that was kind of a phase of my life where I felt silence. And I think that by the time I became an adult, college time, I started trying to, you know, find that voice again. And then towards the end of college, I dated some guy.
Okay.
And this individual worked very hard to break down the me that I even was at that time, and to stifle the voice that I was gaining. And so I remember like having a similar feeling to like when I was in middle school, like, yo, I'm not about to be silenced again. You're not gonna stop. Like, I'm a grown woman. I don't know how this is about to go, but like, first of all, you need to go. And then second of all, I gotta figure out like who I am for me. And so resolute, the word means steadfast, unwavering, unmovable, like unshakable. And I was like, yeah, I'm that. Whether I'm that today or not, like I'm gonna speak this over me. I am that.
This.
But also kind of the rose is recognizing the process of blooming, and you know, sometimes you shed, but I know that I'm ever growing and, you know, evolving into that version of me. And so I like to say that Resolute Rose is both kind of the aspiration and the destination. So like I'm that now, but also I'm becoming that.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's where it comes from.
I love that.
Yeah.
Love
so
that.
like it's almost like my mantra.
Yeah,
like,
right.
That's who I be.
That's who I
be. Yeah.
So being that, you know, and I know that you host many roles.
Yeah.
You host, you're a mother, you are a wife, you are a friend, you are a sister, and you are also a daughter, you know, and knowing that, you know, the transition of your father, you know, back to 2023, correct?
Yeah.
How are you able to navigate that? Because I understand, I'm seeing how like you navigate your family and also community, and you hold, you know, a certain space for them, a certain like exclusivity for them, and privacy. And I admire that about you. I'm like, wow, she don't be saying nothing. She be keeping it hush. But it's so good because a lot of times we don't, you know, we're in a world where everything is exposed. Oh, I just had this and like 2 seconds later, like, you know, I like that you keep things to yourself.
Yeah.
But just navigating the transition of your father, you know, how did you feel like being able to express that, you know, to the world, or like being on your own time?
Yeah.
And being, you know, open and vulnerable with like talking about that.
Yeah. So first off, I say, just in general with how I move, I say just keep sacred. There are certain things that I personally believe are sacred, and I'm not like, if I'm going to share it with you, it's for a reason. I'm not sharing with you because I want anything from you. I want to, you know, some sort of reaction or whatever.
Right.
If I'm sharing, it's because I care to share it. And oftentimes I know that if I keep something to myself, then I'm probably hoarding a message that somebody else may need. So that's when I choose to share. So sometimes I'm like, oh, maybe I want to share this right now. And it's like, girl, but what do you want? Like, what are you looking to get from this?
Right.
If it's like ego driven, I probably am going to talk myself out of it, to be honest. Plus, people are stressful, to be honest with you.
They want to ask questions.
Right, it's like, okay.
It's like, I just told y'all.
Can I get a one and done? Can I get a one and done?
Right.
Because now you got follow-ups to the follow-up, like, relax. But as far as just navigating everything, I'm very kind of reflective anyway. And so I sit with things. Sometimes that's helpful. Sometimes it's not. It's not the best term, but I ruminate on things. Okay. And like I'll process them over time. And so sometimes I feel like, you know, it's time to share. Other times I'm more protective because it's a safety thing. I speak a lot about home. If I don't feel at home with a group of people in a certain space, I'm not going to divulge certain things.
Right.
So I'm, I guess, selective about how, when, and with whom I share things.
Yeah. And I was like, dang, that's like, even I know we want to honor, you know, the things that happen in our lives, you know, give praise or have pride or being proud of them. I appreciate, you know, your way of navigating that, because like I said, we're in a world where everybody's just so accessible to a lot of things, and it's very tasteful to see that be something that is very important to you. So that's good. And my last question, because I know we've been saying it for a while, girl, being that you were in the field of because you got some similarities with it. Assisting the population of substance use and recovery. I know that could be trialing because you have to extend a lot of empathy, you have to extend a lot of compassion. But I wanted to ask, how do you, as you know, a muralist, an artist, mother, wife, daughter, all these roles, all these things, how do you extend your self-grace?
That is such a loaded question. I'm gonna get to it. First of all, working in the space with individuals with substance use disorders, folks who are in recovery from substance use disorders, it taught me so much about life. This little girl from Macon, Georgia, who was afraid, who would try to sugarcoat everything, where people say, bless your heart, and all of that. One of my very first roles when I was in one of my previous roles was to hire individuals who are in recovery from substance use disorders to work in the hospitals, to intervene with folks who had active substance use disorders, basically.
Girl.
So I had to interview them, hire them, but I needed to know their stories in order to ensure that they were able to effectively use their stories to connect with folks and bring them in and see what resources they needed, right? And so through that, I learned so much about life and how to move and how to just be human. Some of my best friendships, relationships came from my previous employees. Those are my people. So much so that I have a show coming up in September where I'm highlighting some of them. I'll talk about more of that. I'll tell you about that later. But yeah, I think that what I got from working in that space was just raw, unbridled honesty. If it's good, bad, ugly, uncomfortable, you're gonna get it. And so, yes, it's trying sometimes, but I feel like they showed me through living just how to be a better human. And so as far as how I extend myself compassion and grace, let me preface it by saying I'm working on it, because I'm not the best with me. I'm great with other people.
That's a real statement, because I'm learning the same thing. You be seeing my Friday reflections. I be like, okay, I'm navigating this, because I be like, listen, everybody else know how to handle it. I'm in the business of people. Fine. But myself, ooh, child, Vina is something, child. Look, we gotta figure it out. But I think we're our own biggest critics. But then also at the same time, we're our own biggest relief. So I think duality. I think pouring into the relief more and learning more about self, and that's when self-reflection comes in, navigation, just to know what do we need at certain times and not being sorry about it, being unapologetic about it.
I was just about to say, because I think when it comes to me, it's the honesty. You learn to tell white lies and all other types of things as a child growing up in a certain setting. But when you've been, I don't know if you remember, it was a Pizza Hut commercial where the little boy was like, I have been to the edge and back. It was talking about a pizza where it was an edge, it was crustless or something. But I like to speak, and they laugh at me, but I'm like, y'all have literally been to the fringes. Y'all have been to the edge and back. And so that raw honesty, I try to apply that to myself. And so that's how, like I said, I do my best, but it ain't the best.
You're doing what you can as of right now, but it's all a progress.
I just try to be honest.
So I appreciate that, Yewande. Thank you for having us.
Of course. Thank you for coming.
No problem. And I'm going to get up out your house. Look, can I have a hug? I feel like
of course,
so
girl.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Don't get up out of here, child.
All right. Come back soon, you hear?
Right.